You want to know what really makes a woman chase you? It's not your looks, it's not your money, it's not even your confidence. It's what happens in her mind when you walk away before she's finished figuring you out. Every woman, no matter how strong or independent she seems, is wired to be drawn to emotional mystery. The moment she senses that she can't completely read you, her curiosity becomes attraction, and her attraction becomes pursuit. But here's the problem. Most men kill that curiosity before it even begins. They talk too much, explain too much, give too much too soon. They try to prove their value instead of letting her feel it. And women don't fall for words, they fall for energy. They chase what feels just out of reach, what pulls them without demanding them. It's psychology, not manipulation. Because chasing isn't about games, it's about emotional impact. Let me tell you something that most men never hear from a woman's mouth. We chase the man who makes us feel something we can't control. That's why the first trick isn't about what you do to her, it's what you control in yourself. Your emotional self-control is the foundation of attraction. When you stop reacting instantly to her texts, her moods, her attention shifts, she starts noticing your restraint. She starts to wonder, why doesn't he need my validation like everyone else? That wonder is the first spark of obsession. The second psychological shift happens when you stop being predictable. Predictability is emotional death. It tells her she has you figured out. So you break the rhythm. You don't always respond the same way. You let silence speak for you sometimes. You let her imagination fill in the blanks. And trust me, it always does. Women overthink, especially about the men who don't give them a clear answer. The space you create becomes her mental playground. And the third, you mirror her emotional energy, not her words. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she gives warmth, you respond with presence, not excitement. This creates emotional synchronization, a deep psychological pattern that makes her feel connected to you without realizing why. You're no longer following her lead, and that shift makes her chase your validation instead. See, attraction is never built through trying to get her attention. It's built by showing her, through your silence, your presence, and your detachment, that her attention isn't what defines your worth. Because when a woman feels like she's losing a man who doesn't even need to be won, that's when the chase begins. Tell me, be honest, when was the last time you walked away from a woman and she came back first? Drop your answer below and keep watching, because what happens next will change how every woman sees you forever. Here's a truth that's uncomfortable but undeniable. Women don't chase men who want them more than they want themselves. They chase men whose presence demands respect without saying a word. The second psychological trick is what I call emotional gravity. It's not charm, it's not flirtation. It's a kind of energy that pulls her in even when you're not trying. And it begins with how you see yourself, not as a man who needs love, but as a man worthy of being chosen. When a woman senses that your world doesn't revolve around her, she suddenly wants to be part of it. If she feels like you've already built a meaningful life, one that continues with or without her, that creates an emotional pull far stronger than any compliment or confession. Think about it. Women are emotional investors. They want to feel that the man they're drawn to is worth the emotional risk. And nothing is more magnetic than a man whose peace cannot be shaken by someone's approval. That's why you never over-pursue. The moment you start chasing her attention, her instincts shift. She subconsciously starts questioning your value. She doesn't do it maliciously. It's biology. She's wired to be drawn to confidence, to scarcity, to power, wrapped in calm. When she feels like she has you, the mystery dies. But when she senses that she's almost got you, that's when her mind races. That's when the chase begins. You want to make her think about you even when you're not around. Give her emotional contrast. One day, deep presence, eye contact, attention, genuine curiosity. The next, quiet distance. Let her feel your energy and then take it away. It's not manipulation, it's attraction psychology. Human brains crave what they can't fully predict. When she feels like she's almost close enough to understand you, her emotions lock in. And don't confuse emotional gravity with arrogance. It's not about being cold, it's about having boundaries that communicate strength. You're not trying to impress her, you're letting her discover you. Because discovery creates addiction. A man who doesn't overshare creates space for imagination. A man who knows when to pull back gives her room to miss him. When you stop proving and start embodying, she'll feel it. She'll start rereading your messages, wondering what you meant, thinking about what you're doing, because she feels your value instead of hearing you explain it. So ask yourself this: have you been showing up like a man she needs to figure out, or a man she's already figured out and moved on from? Be honest, comment below, because the next part is where most men accidentally ruin attraction without realizing it, and it's the biggest reason women stop chasing. Here's where most men fail. They mistake availability for affection. They think being constantly present, instantly replying, and endlessly accommodating will make her feel special. But in reality, it kills attraction faster than rejection ever could. Women don't chase what's always there. They chase what feels rare, what feels earned. This third psychological trick is called the absence effect. When used correctly, it can completely shift the balance of power, not through games, but through energy. See, when you pull away with intention, you trigger something deep in her subconscious: uncertainty. And uncertainty is what keeps the human mind emotionally engaged. The less she knows about your thoughts, your day, or your feelings toward her, the more she starts to imagine. Her mind fills the gaps, and that imagination always magnifies your importance. But here's the key. This doesn't mean ghosting. It's not about disappearing or ignoring her out of ego. It's about emotional pacing. When she gives you energy, match it. When she pulls away, don't chase. That silence? It's powerful. It tells her you're not dependent on her response. And when she realizes your world continues, something inside her shifts. Her curiosity turns into intrigue, her intrigue into craving. Because now she feels the emotional contrast, the sweet tension between closeness and distance. If you've ever noticed a woman suddenly texting more after you stopped initiating, that's not an accident. That's the absence effect working in real time. You stopped feeding her validation, and now her instincts are trying to pull it back. You've become unpredictable, and unpredictability fuels desire. She's not chasing you in that moment. She's chasing the feeling you used to give her. Safety, excitement, validation, all wrapped in mystery. But for this to work, your absence has to be authentic. You can't fake confidence. If you're sitting by your phone, counting the minutes until she replies, you're still energetically chasing her. Real detachment isn't silence, it's self-respect. It's choosing your focus over your fixation. It's spending that time improving, growing, building. When you live like your life is already full, your silence doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like power. And women sense it. The more centered you become, the more she'll lean in. She'll start showing up, testing the waters, trying to reconnect. That's when you know the energy has flipped. You've stopped chasing, and now she's the one who's emotionally invested. So here's the question. Are you brave enough to let your silence speak louder than your words? Most men aren't, but the few who are, they become unforgettable. The fourth psychological trick is something few men ever master: the mirror of desire. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about reflecting back to her what she emotionally craves, not through words, but through subtle energy. Every woman wants to feel seen without having to explain herself. When you can sense her emotions and mirror them calmly, you create a connection so powerful that it bypasses logic. Here's how it works. Most men listen to reply. Powerful men listen to feel. When she talks, you don't interrupt, you don't rush to impress, you absorb. You let her feel safe in your silence. And when you finally speak, your words cut deep because they're grounded in presence, not performance. That presence is what separates a man she forgets from a man she can't stop thinking about. Women don't chase validation. They chase the feeling of being emotionally understood. But here's the trap. If you overdo it, if you start performing empathy to get a reaction, she'll sense it instantly. Authenticity can't be faked. Women are biologically wired to detect emotional incongruence. Meaning, if your words and energy don't align, she feels uneasy, not attracted. That's why nice guys often fail. They say the right things, but the energy underneath screams insecurity. They want something in return, and women can feel that. When you use the mirror of desire correctly, your calm, grounded energy gives her permission to be vulnerable. And once a woman associates emotional safety with your presence, she chases it. She'll crave being near you because with you, she can breathe. She'll tell you things she's never told anyone, and she won't even understand why. It's not about manipulation, it's about emotional resonance. You're giving her something rare, depth. And remember this, when she starts to open up, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it breathe. That's where the magic happens. Because in that silence, she's processing, not your words, but your energy. She's thinking, why does this feel different? Why do I feel calm when I talk to him? That's when you've got her. Not through tactics, but through stillness. Every woman, no matter how confident she appears, is searching for a man who doesn't need to dominate her emotions, but can hold them, without judgment, without ego, without trying to fix her. That's what makes her chase. Not the game, but the gravity. So think about it. When you're around women, are you trying to impress, or are you quietly creating emotional safety? Because one earns attention, the other earns devotion. Here's the fifth psychological trick, and it's the one that transforms attraction into obsession. It's called emotional reversal. This is the moment when she realizes you are not the type of man who needs her validation, but the kind of man whose approval she now desires. It's when the dynamic quietly shifts. She's no longer evaluating you, she's earning your attention. And it all starts when you stop rewarding interest and start rewarding investment. Think about it. Most men give the same energy to every woman who shows up. They hand out attention like candy, hoping one of them will stay. But high-value men don't operate like that. They know attention is currency, and they spend it wisely. When a woman gives you effort, consistency, vulnerability, that's when you give her more of your time, your warmth, your energy. But when she gives you half interest or emotional games, you respond with calm distance. No anger, no drama, just emotional neutrality. That neutrality drives her crazy. Because women expect reactions. They expect you to fight for their attention, to chase when they pull away. When you don't, her ego doesn't know how to process it. And that confusion turns into curiosity. Here's the key. Emotional reversal isn't about making her feel small. It's about showing her that your peace is more valuable than her validation. You're not proving you're better. You're simply proving that you're unaffected. And that, to a woman, is power. It's the rare kind of self-control that most men never develop. When she realizes that her words, her looks, her little tests don't shake your balance, she starts respecting you. And from respect comes attraction. She'll start putting in more effort, reaching out more often, trying to figure you out. Because now, the roles have reversed. She's trying to earn you. And here's what separates the men who get chased from the men who get ghosted. They know when to walk away emotionally, not with pride, but with peace. You don't argue, you don't plead, you don't prove. You simply stop showing up where you're not valued. That silence isn't weakness, it's emotional mastery. And when you hold that line, she feels it deep in her core. Because now, the control has shifted. She's not chasing your attention out of ego. She's chasing it because she feels something real, something rare. And that's what keeps her coming back long after most men would have begged for a second chance. So let me ask you, when was the last time a woman truly had to earn your presence? Think about it. And when you answer that honestly, you'll understand why some women lose interest, while others never stop thinking about you. Here's what most men never realize. The real power in attraction isn't in pursuit, it's in emotional leadership. The final psychological trick isn't a tactic at all, it's a state of being. It's the energy of a man who leads, not by control, but by calm certainty. Because when a woman feels that you can guide the emotional tone of any interaction, that you're steady when she's stormy, grounded when she's reactive, she starts to trust you. And trust, more than looks or money, is what makes a woman chase. A man with emotional leadership doesn't get dragged into chaos. He doesn't raise his voice when she tests him. He doesn't mirror her moods. Instead, he regulates his own. Because he knows that emotions are contagious, and the one who controls his energy controls the dynamic. Women are naturally emotional beings, but when they encounter a man whose calmness can't be shaken, it disarms them. She feels safe, not because you're soft, but because you're centered. This is where most men fail. They confuse strength with aggression, dominance with steadiness. But true masculine power isn't loud, it's quiet. It's in your posture, your tone, your patience. When you speak less, she listens more. When you stop trying to impress, she becomes curious. When you maintain your peace, she lowers her guard. That's emotional leadership. It's not about being above her. It's about being anchored enough to lead her through the waves of emotion that most men drown in. And this kind of presence is magnetic. It makes women feel like they can let go, like they don't need to perform or control. You become the calm in her chaos, the still point she didn't know she was searching for. She'll begin to chase that feeling, because in a world full of noise, you become silence. In a world full of men who demand attention, you become focus. But here's the deeper truth. You can't fake emotional leadership. You can't memorize it or script it. It has to be built through discipline, purpose, solitude, and the courage to sit with your emotions until they no longer scare you. Once you master yourself, no woman can unbalance you. And that's when attraction becomes effortless, because your energy leads and she naturally follows. So let me ask you something. When a woman challenges your peace, do you rise into strength or sink into reaction? Comment your answer below. And if this message hit home, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs to be reminded of his power. Because real attraction doesn't start with her, it starts with you. There's one final truth, the one that separates men who constantly chase women from the ones women chase for years. It's the realization that attraction isn't built on tactics. It's built on self-command. The men who win in love aren't the loudest, the richest, or the most physically gifted. They're the ones who understand that their emotional state sets the tone for every relationship they enter. When you master your emotions, your silence becomes louder than words, your absence becomes more powerful than attention, and your presence becomes unforgettable. When a woman feels your energy, she isn't reacting to your looks. She's reacting to what your presence makes her feel. If she feels calm around you, she'll stay. If she feels anxious or controlled, she'll pull away. You can't fake that balance. You earn it through stillness, purpose, and experience. That's why true confidence isn't in chasing women. It's in walking away from chaos and knowing something better will always align with your peace. Here's what happens when you reach that level. Women start to compete for your energy, not because you're playing games, but because you've become the man every woman subconsciously hopes to meet. The man who can see her clearly without losing himself. When she realizes your world doesn't revolve around her, she wants to be part of it. When she sees that your value isn't dependent on her approval, she begins to crave your validation. And when she senses that your emotions don't get shaken easily, she becomes addicted to your calm. That's what makes her chase. Not fear, not manipulation, but respect. And here's the paradox. The less you need a woman, the more women want you. Because needing nothing makes you everything. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. You've stopped seeking love as a rescue and started embodying it as a standard. And once you live like that, you stop chasing temporary attention because you've already built something permanent within peace. So remember this, the goal isn't to make women obsessed. The goal is to become the kind of man who naturally inspires obsession. When you embody purpose, patience, and power, women notice. They always do. Now, I want to ask you something real. When was the last time you felt completely in control of your emotions around a woman you wanted? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments. And if this video woke something up in you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs to remember what true strength looks like. Because real power isn't about chasing her, it's about mastering you.